accent is really distracting you. So, Americana's Voices. Hi, boys and girls. This week, we are going to be learning how to divide fractions. Your two favorite things in the whole wide world, division and fractions. I'm so excited. Okay, now, first things first. To be able to divide fractions, I need you to see the relationship between multiplication and division. They're kind of like arch nemesis, like Draco and Harry. Bum, bum, bum! Okay, so if we have 3 times 4, you know that the answer is what? 12. Did you know that we can get that same answer by using division and using these same numbers? We can. We can do 3 divided by, but instead of 4, we do 1/4. Here's how this works. Let's say that we have 3 pies, 3 whole pies, and we want to divide them into fourths, into 1/4. This is actually asking if you have 3 wholes and you divide it into fourths, how many pieces do you have? Well, you have 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces, 4 pieces, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Push! 12 pieces. Isn't that amazing? Okay. All right, boys and girls. Here we go again. This time we have 1 divided by 1/2. If we have a bar that equals 1, so this is the 1, and we split that into halves and quarters, and they're called fraction bars. And we want to know, if we want to divide this into halves, we want to know how many halves are in that 1. So there's 1/2 and another 1/2. So how many half pieces does it take to make a half? We take 1 and divide it by half. How many halves does it take? It takes 2. What? That is so weird that you take 1 and you divide and you end up with a bigger number than you started with. But that's the beauty of dividing with fractions. Woohoo! All right, boys and girls, we are going to do 2/3 divided by 1/4. This time, I'm going to teach you the way that mathematicians do division with fractions. Now, keep in mind, what we did before was with multiplication, we learned that 3 times 4 is the same thing as 3 divided by 1/4. I want to teach you a word right now that is going to make a world of difference in your math life. Well, maybe not, but we're going to pretend it does. Okay, it is the word reciprocal. Reciprocal. The reciprocal of any number, let's say, I don't know, let's start with a whole number. Let's start with the number 3. All right, the reciprocal of 3 is, remember we talked a couple of weeks ago about how every whole number is actually 3/1 because it's division. 3 divided by 1 equals 3. So we can write every whole number as a fraction. So the reciprocal of 3/1 is 1/3. We flip the numerator and the denominator to create the reciprocal. Now the reciprocal of a fraction I'm using a sock this time. Maybe I'll give this to Dobby later. Oh, Dobby's already been freed. Who else could I give this to free an elf? All right. Okay, so the reciprocal of 1/2 is going to be 2/1. We flip-flop. The reciprocal of 7/9 is 9/7. That's important to know because to divide fractions the way mathematicians usually do, there is a very, very simple way to do this. Are you ready? Since division and multiplication are so linked together and are so connected, what we can do is we can use multiplication to solve this. What? But multiplication is so easy. We just go boop, 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 boop. Well, yeah. So multiplication can be used to solve a division fraction problem. Here we go. You ready? We keep the first number exactly the way it is. We change the division to a multiplication sign. We take the second number and we write the reciprocal of it. Then do you know what we do? It's amazing, but it's a secret. We multiply them. This becomes 2 times 4 over 3 times 1. 2 times 4 is? Yes! 8. 3 times 1 is? You guys, you're making me cry! 8/3 is our answer. But 8/3 is a really improper fraction. It cannot have tea with the queen. It is improper. So we have to take this 8 and divide it by 3. 3 goes into 8 how many times? 2 whole times. 2 times 3 is 6. We subtract that. We have 2 left over. This becomes our numerator. This is our denominator for 2/3. So our real answer, come here, Saki. 2 2/3. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Whoosh. All right, boys and girls, we have another example to work through. Here we have 2/3 divided by 3/4. This is like saying you're taking 2/3 of a pie and you want to find out how many groups of 3/4 are in that 2/3. I don't know why we would ever need to know that, but why not? There are many professions that you do have to know that, so learn it. All right, here we go. We take and keep the first fraction. We change the operation, and we flip or use the reciprocal of the second number, the number that we are dividing by, which is called the divisor, by the way. Dividend, divisor. Okay, well, dividend, divisor, because that's the multiplication problem. Okay, so this becomes 2 times 4 over 3 times 3. It's a different problem this time. And inside joke, don't worry about it. We've got 8/9. 8/9. Can we simplify that? Well, 8 is 1, 2, 4, and 8 because 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. And the factors of 9 are 1, 3, and 9. The only thing that they share is 1, so this is as simplified as it can get. All right, boys and girls. You might be asking, when on earth would I ever need to be able to divide fractions? Well, first and foremost, the most important place that you would need to divide fractions is in Snape's potions class. I mean, you're going to have to divide those fractions to get the right potions. Miss Pomfrey also requires a lot of dividing of fractions when she's doing the healing stuff and making potions to help heal. And then the cook. The cook always has to divide fractions or multiply fractions depending on what they are working on. And so, for example, let's say that you have a recipe for butterbeer, and it says you need to have 3/4 of a cup of cream. Okay, but you don't need to make this big recipe for 15 people with 3/4 of a cup. You need to make it for like 7 people. So you're going to split it in half. So you're going to divide it by 2 because you want to split it in half. So what we do to figure this out is we take 3/4, we want to divide it by 2. We've got 3/4 times, because we're going to change that, and we're going to take the reciprocal times a half. So we end up with a numerator of 3 and a denominator of, you guys are making me cry. You're getting so good at this. My babies are growing up. 3/8. 3/8 is half of 3/4. Well, yes. And so we divided it by 2. All right. We are going to try a couple more. Let's see. We're going to go with 7/10 divided by 2/3. Go ahead and take a minute to solve this on your own. All right, so here's what we do. 7/10 stays the same. The first one stays the same. We change the operation, keep, change, flip. We're going to use the reciprocal. So we end up with 7 times 3 is 21. 10 times 2 is 20. Did you remember to turn it into a mixed number? You did? Awesome. All right. My daughter's looking at me very strangely. Okay, so 20 goes into 21 how many whole times? Yes, it goes in 1 whole time. 1 times 20 is 20. We subtract, we have 1 left over. 1 becomes our numerator. 20 becomes our denominator. So 7/10 divided by 2/3 is 1 and 1/20. Yay! Okay, boys and girls, this is our last example because it's almost time for Quidditch practice. All right, 1/4 divided by 5/6. Okay, we keep. Actually, you solve it. Excellent. We change the operation sign and we use the reciprocal, so we flip. We now have 1 times 6 is 6. 4 times 5 is 20. So we have 1/4 divided by 5/6 is 6/20. Can we simplify that though? Can we show it in reduced terms? Let's check. For 6 we have 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. 4 doesn't go into it, 5 doesn't go into it, and 6. 20 has 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 3 times nothing, 4 times 5, 6 times nothing, 7 times nothing, 8 times nothing. We got it. So they share 1 and they share 2. They don't share 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, so they don't share anything else. But they do share 2. So we can use the giant 1 divided by the giant 1. And this giant 1 is going to have 2 halves. Oh, thank you! That is my 3-headed dog out to get the hippogriff back in order. Okay. So we're going to use the giant 1 to simplify this. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So the simplified version of 6 20ths is 3/10. And there you have it, boys and girls. It is time for Quidditch practice. I'm going to take my my COVID Nimbus 2019-2020, and I'm going to go and supervise Quidditch practice. Onward!